Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Yeah, today we sing the unsung hero song of stability, unveiling the hidden power of screws and bolts. So, I want to talk a little bit about HILTI threaded sleeves, just to mention one brand, but that is a very popular one, of course, and very well known. So, screws and bolts, what are they good for? Why should I know about it? How will my family's safety, we talk about flood protection, right, be affected during heavy rain? So let's describe a little bit the difference between the screws and bolts in terms of safety in flood protection. How can you ensure that your installed demountable flood barriers do a good job and protect your building if heavy rain floods your neighborhood? And that is what we will talk about today. So, welcome again to all listeners out there. It's another episode of Flood Protection Sequence. And as I've said, we are diving into a topic that, while seemingly mundane, plays a crucial role in our everyday lives, and the world of screws and bolts. And these small yet mighty tools are the unsung heroes that hold our world together, often unnoticed but always essential. So let's start with a scenario we have all encountered, I'm quite sure. Yeah, look around where you are when you are in your living room at home, or even in an office. Look around. I'm quite sure here and there you can see a picture. And the thing is, first, who was hanging this picture on the wall? So it seems simple, right? But have you ever paused to consider the tiny marvels that make this possible? The screws that we casually twist into our walls are engineering feats, ensuring that our precious memories stay in place, adding charm and character to our homes. Now, picture this, attaching a fence post to a concrete base. Now, for all those who own a house, a lot. But the same for a business. There's always a kind of fence somewhere. If you don't prefer a concrete wall, what I personally find very ugly, because I always feel like in jail. I need to see the neighborhood. Here in Germany, we don't have these concrete walls. Very, very rarely. Very rare, and normally these fences are open first for the animals, as long as you live in province, but in the city as well. So, and you can of course see the green of the neighbor. That is widening your own lot in a way, and that gives you a good feeling. So that is our culture. In other countries, it might be different, and I also understand in some parts in Asia that for safety reasons people are putting themselves in a jail by putting a concrete wall 3 meter high around them. Anyway, for a fence, and you need to have a concrete if you want to install a fence post you need, and then you need a concrete base. By the way, you also need a concrete base if you want to install a concrete wall. But we are talking about a post. And then very easy, you can have a wooden fence, or you can, but that's not a good idea. I tell you from my own experience, you have to paint it almost every 2 years, and that is a terrible work. Or you take kind of chicken wire coated fence, so in gray or in green or different colors. Very often they are green or they are gray, and these parts of the fence. The fence is not one piece, so it's split normally, and you have and then of course you don't have chicken wire. Chicken wire is that is very old-fashioned. So you have elements, so prefectured elements, and these elements are inserted in between posts. So that's what we are talking about. It's a task that requires strength and precision. Something that bolts accomplish with ease. These robust fasteners connect and secure, ensuring stability and safety. That's what you want. Whether it's for a quaint garden fence or a more substantial boundary. So in this episode, we'll explore the fascinating world of screws and bolts, and from the smallest screw in our eyeglasses to the hefty bolts in construction sites. Each has a story to tell, a story of strength, design, and the incredible science behind that keeps our daily lives running smoothly. Yeah, join me a little bit as we unscrew the mysteries and bolt down the facts, understanding how these everyday essentials play a pivotal role in our lives. So grab your tools or just your curiosity, and let's dive into the sensational world of screws and bolts. It's quite interesting. So the difference first between a screw and a bolt is primarily in the design and the way they are used to fasten materials together. So let's start with the screw. So with screws typically have a tapered thread that covers the entire length of the shaft. They are designed to cut or form a thread into the material in which they are driven. So screws can have various head styles like flat, Phillips or Torx, and thread types depending on their intended application. So let's talk about bolts. Bolts usually have a cylindrical or flat shaft with a uniform thread towards one end. Bolts are intended to be used with a nut and often require a pre-drilled hole. So they may not have threads along their entire length, and their threads are generally not, tapered. So that was a design. Now, how about the usage? So let's start with screws again. So when a screw is turned, so when you turn the screw, it cuts or displaces a material to create its own mating thread. This makes screws self-threading, meaning they can form or tap their own threads. In wood, for instance. Screws are often used in wood, as I've said, plastic or metal, where they can form a strong grip within the material itself. Or you use them with dowels, for instance, in concrete. Bolts are typically used to fasten two or more components together with a nut, clamping them in place. And the bolt passes through pre-made holes in the material, and the nut is threaded onto the bolt from the opposite side to secure the components. I mean, quite easy to understand. At least for me, I hope it is also understandable for you. So we talked about the design, about the usage, now about the application. Screws first again. They are commonly used in carpentry, electronics, and machinery for securing components where the connection may need to be removed or adjusted. Bolts are often used in construction, machinery, and automotive applications, for instance, where a stronger, more secure joint is needed, and that's the point. My dear friends, where a stronger, more secure joint is needed, especially for longer, heavier components. Yeah, and now you know already where I want to lead you to. When we talk to flood protection, then of course we need more secure joints and larger, heavier components. That these are the barriers, and that is the impact of the water pressure, or that is the water pressure itself plus the impact through kinetic energy by floating debris or by waves, for instance. So, which are the consequences if you would consider using tiny, slim screws for flood protection? Oh my gosh, high risk. I always call these tiny screws junior screws. For it's really a screw. It is not a bolt. That is, I don't know. That is a toy. So tiny. Heavy duty is the order of the day. The right dowel and the right bolt. So what we do is we use HILTI threaded sleeves. That is the topic of this episode, as a dowel in a way, and in 2-component adhesive, and then we insert stainless steel bolts or hexagon bolts. Yeah, and that is how the things are connected, and that is a trick. Because these HILTI threaded sleeves, they are available in M16, M20, M24 millimeters. And the length is up to, depending. But it's definitely more than 10 centimeters. It goes to 15 centimeters, 20 centimeters. So you can imagine already when you compare it with a tiny, small screw that you use at home to hang a painting with a heavy frame, perhaps at the wall. Then you don't take a nail. For a small tiny painting or just a photo, you might take these small tiny needles, these nails. But here, then you will take, of course, a serious screw for these bigger ones. And for the flood protection, same like what you do for the post at your fence, you need heavy-duty equipment. And these HILTI thread sleeves, HILTI is a company coming from Liechtenstein, very, very close to Switzerland, and they are widely used all over the world. So first of all, I don't get commission. That's not why I say that. But this manufacturing in Germany as well. And so you can find them in all construction sites in the world. And you probably have seen already their red cases with the white HILTI on it. And even at the airport, sometimes you have some technicians traveling around the world, and they carry these red cases. And that is used on almost all construction sites. Because why? These products are available everywhere. When you use their tools as well, there is a good service that you can take benefit of the service in almost every big city in the world. And spare parts are easy to get when it comes to spare parts or to tools. And you are in the middle of a construction, and then suddenly your drill is breaking, or your drilling, there's a core drilling machine, for instance, that you need for a proper drill hole. Or at least it is better to do it. You can also do it with a standard drilling machine, but that's more complicated when, let me say, when you have 100 drill holes to do, and they all must be aligned in a way that the middle posts are really aligned and vertical by 90 degrees, and you have to match the 4 drill holes from the base plate of the middle support of the post together with drilling in your concrete foundation. That sounds perhaps a little bit confusing, but at the end of the day, what I want to tell you is that with these threaded sleeves, once inserted into, because that is a kind of dowel, so it has a hole in the middle. You insert it into your concrete, and you connect it with the concrete with a 2-component adhesive, as I've said, and then you put the post with a base plate on it. And then you connect the base plate with a foundation by using, let me say, hexagon bolts. And when we dismantle the middle supports for these demountable flood barriers, for instance, you might ask, what happens now with these holes? Because the installed HILTI threaded sleeve has a hole. That's not good. Sand can go inside. Perhaps with ladies with the shoes with high heels can have an small accident. So don't worry about that, because we close it with stainless steel bolts. So very, very small bolts, also heavy duty, but stainless steel, of course, because it should last long. If you want to have it cheap, okay, then take cheap bolts from somewhere. But don't wonder when they are rusting and then one day you cannot open it anymore because the thread is so simple and it's damaged already. Then you risk the whole flood protection of your building. And that's it already. So the key point is the difference between the tiny screws with a tapered thread that covers the entire length, more or less, whereas the bolts usually have a cylindrical or flat shaft with a uniform thread. And it is always a connection between two parts. So you have this one element that is called the dowel and the screw, or the HILTI threaded sleeve plus the bolt. Yeah? So that's a combination more or less that you have. And what we do in flood protection to give you a safe feeling, of course, and that you have a long lifetime, you can enjoy a long lifetime of the flood protection installed, is that we connect the HILTI threaded sleeve with a two-component adhesive. And the thing is that to install it, you need skilled people to do it. Yes, you can drill, but once again, for one post, you have every vertical post that is splitting long spans of demountable flood barriers. So let me say you want to have a post all 2.5 meters, and your entrance, your gate entrance is 8 meters. Yeah, so then you have about three middle supports, because depending on the height, that gives you 4 sections. So every section is 2 meters long. Let me say you have 1 meter 80 flood protection height. So then the span length is 2 meter with 3 middle supports. Just an example. Yeah. And then you have at every middle support a base plate, because that is what you attach to the foundation. And every base plate, foot plate has 4 drill holes. And the opposite part in your foundation is a drill hole. So you must make 4 drill holes for each. So you have 3, that is already 12, and they all must be aligned, and they must be vertical. That is possible that you can drill properly, but people who are not skilled don't know how to do it. And then suddenly you cannot insert at the end the necessary hexagon bolts, because it doesn't fit with the one-time installed threaded sleeves. And you cannot take them out and do it again, because they are connected with the foundation with a 2-component adhesive. That means you must cut out the whole concrete and pour the concrete again and do the whole thing again. That will delay your installation and make it more costly. That is why from the very beginning we only use the good material. We work with core drilling machines on our own, and if you cannot do that on your site, that means your people don't have these tools. For whatever reason, they are not skilled enough, then we suggest another solution. And this other solution you can discuss with us next time. That is the use of anchor plates, pre-installed anchor plates. And then you have not to drill on site during the installation. You have to install prior to the main installation of the flood barriers. You have to install these anchor plates. Yeah, all this information you can get by visiting us in our Asian Center for Flood Control in Clark, 80 kilometers north of Manila, Philippines. That is the Asian Center for Flood Control, our headquarters, or the headquarters of Flood Control Asia. They have an own airport and daily flights of the Emirates, Qatar Airways, Singapore, Bangkok. I heard recently it's open. Incheon, there are I think 7 flights every day with South Korea. So easy to go. So I just invite you to go there, and there is where you show you the difference, and you can take it in your hand. And I guarantee you, if you have felt the difference between the tiny screw, the junior screw, and the heavy-duty HILTI threaded sleeve M20, your decision is very easy what you will do, and you don't think to save perhaps some hundreds of euro, because when you connect that, when you compare that with a lifetime of the flood protection and what you want to achieve, the protection of your family in your house, the protection of your inventory in your company, or the protection of your public facilities like airports, hospitals, subways, and so on, then that is nothing compared to the damage that might happen once a heavy rain is flooding your premises and your building. That was the song of the unsung heroes of stability. Unveiling the hidden power of the screws and bolts. So my opinion is very clear that we go for the HILTI threaded sleeves. But if you are not able, or you cannot provide the skilled people to install it properly outside the country, depending in which country you are. In some countries we do the installation by our own. If not, we only supervise it. But then we highly suggest, why not, to go for anchor plates. And that will be described in another episode. And as always, stay safe and flood free. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with the new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us, or just click through to www.thefloodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe, flood protection secrets, the secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.